Hello and welcome back. This is KurossuElemenze with yet another installation of my Dragon Quest IX Solo Speedrun Challenge. You're seeing me pick up right where I left off at the end of my level grinding. I left in the acquisition of Magic Mirror Accolade, and I'll get more into accolades later. But what I'm doing now is I'm healing up before the boss. No use going in without mana. And I chose Zir again because the inn is very close to the edge of town. And all I'm going to do is stay the night and get right back to it. This episode will entail the end of Quarentomb and of Coffinwell. I didn't have enough footage for either to warrant separate videos, and they tie together nicely, so you'll have that. Warping. I'm using the Chimera Wing to go back to Coffinwell, and just like before, try and dodge any combat on the way to the dungeon. Luckily, I think I managed to. For some reason, it might have been my increase in level. The Leafy Larrikin was not interested in me. But these carts were still, I believe. Most of these enemies you'd run into in a normal playthrough, but as I said before, this is just a speedrun where all superfluous battles just add to your time, and that's not something we want. But we're going to continue back into Quarentomb. Luckily, the doctor found his way back out and said, "Don't ditch me." He's kind of annoying like that, but it makes sense. We rushed straight past this, and the door is still open, so we're good to go. And I introduce you to a Cajun delight. Right here we have Dr. Fleming investigating the pot of yore, what they had used to seal away the disease that is now riddling Coffinwell. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without a guest appearance of none less than the actual disease itself. This is a fun little creature. It has a fun accent if you feel like reading it that way. But he's rather in your face and very, very luridly pink and purple. But apparently he falls under the elemental family. I'm not too surprised, but anyways, to battle we go. In the bottom left, you'll see that he's weak to both fire and light magic, or lightning magic, but strong against wind, earth, and dark. He has resistance to stop, decrease defense, decrease speed, and decrease magic resistance. Two of which are spells that you'll see me reflecting back at him. The special ability that I got from the 40 shield skill points, Magic Mirrors, is a 4 or 5 turn magic reflect. So all these debuffs that he's throwing at me should be reflected back at him. As you saw there, I got a nice juicy crit. It was worth almost 1/7 of his hit points. Most of my hits in this battle seemed to average about 5%, and that was 12 to 15%. Other than that, he's got the standard array of moves. He does Kasap, which is a area of effect, defense decrease. He does Decelerate, which is an area attack speed decrease. Does basic melee attacks, which can envenomate. Basically, I start taking 8 damage per turn. And he has Sweet Breath, which you don't see him do that often, but it did get me in the beginning of this battle, where it actually puts you to sleep. As you can see though, he just got a haywire spell, but status decrease spells really don't seem to benefit from that. Other than that, he's pretty much just smack, 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 rebuff, heal, smack, smack, smack. At least with the way that I've built this character. Again, some of the ideas for this build obviously came from Kostaki, as he's the one who put the challenge forth and presented the tips. I did not have a very streamlined approach to the end of this battle, namely because I was a little foggy on details since I hadn't played it since my dry run. But either way, it worked out for the best, and I go ahead and bash my way through this boss. After the level grinding earlier, I ended up having a total of 2.5 hours, I think. So, between all the recording that I did, which you'll be able to see at the end of the next video, I am actually up to 3 hours of the 12 hours, and I hopefully can make it. I won't have to level grind nearly as much in upcoming episodes since I did a good deal of it in the last episode. His Envenomate can stack. It doesn't do increasing damage. It just prolongs the duration. I think it can eventually heal. But one thing about doing this on the fly was I was not tracking the boss's hit points closely, so I wasn't quite sure where he was at near the end of this fight. And there you just saw me get a critical heal, which took me to cap, but was still less than what I can normally get. So it kind of felt cheated. But other than that, I really can't say much about this boss. He's got a personality, at least. So I can't complain about that. But other than that, the only way that he can really manage to kill you that I've noticed is if he envenomates you and then you fall prone to his sweet breath sleep effect, and he continues to wail on you while you're poisoned and can't react. But with that being said, this is where not tracking his hit points on the fly added a couple seconds to the Let's Play. I ended up rebuffing before I went for the killing blow. If I had known he was at 23 hit points, this would have been over about 5 seconds ago. But now that he's dead, we get a healthy dose of boss XP, almost 2300. And we get a alchemy ingredient that is fairly useless until endgame for us, since don't plan on doing any alchemy, especially something that requires royal soil. But into the pod the contagion goes with a waving of Dr. Fleming's arms, and he dismisses us to go tell the mayor what's transpired. Being the archaeologist he is, he can't resist a little look in the basement. And neither can I. This is where my foggy details made me forget. I thought there might have been a chest down here. But with evac, I can get out safe and sound. And using one of my remaining Chimera wings, it's back to Coffinwell we go. The rest of this is going to be plot pushing, so bear with me. It is kind of slow at points, but straight back into town we go. And yeah, I have to say that I was not quite awake when I was recording this. Nearly ran to Fleming's lab. But up to the mayor we go to say we did it, yay. He admits that Fleming's not so bad, and of course immediately changes his tune. But he instructs us to go tell Fleming's wife, his daughter, so that she can be proud of him. And off we go, and strolling up to the bedside where I think we first found her. We come in, and Dr. Fleming is on our heels. He says he's going back to the Quarentomb because he's not quite done. And of course, from across a 10 to 12 foot wide room, he notices immediately that she is unconscious and not stirring. It's somewhat believable. Anyways, unfortunately, obviously, Katerina was infected and died to the illness before we could put it away. The entire town knew and loved her because she is, of course, the mayor's daughter, and she had the personality that made people want to love her, obviously. And of course, Estella comes to point out with her rather selfish goal. Yeah, no one here is going to be happy that we did anything. So, go get our reward and we'll move on. So we go and talk to the mayor. Immediately he gripes about Fleming not showing up to the funeral and states that basically so that you can fit into the proper storyline, come back at night. And that's of course because Katerina of course did not see her life ambition completed. So we go pick up our loot from the mayor, and I won't spoil it, but obviously it's obvious what's going to happen. And yes, I am being redundant. I've been listening to a couple of the bank card commercials on the radio lately where they have just a chain of redundancies. Our reward is of a headband, which goes along well with the previous headband that we got. All that Stella is saying is that that's kind of a chintzy reward. Let's get the hell out of Dodge. But this headband has the same amount of magical mending, but it also adds magical might, which is the offensive magic casting skill. And to the graveyard we go to pay our last respects to Katerina, who just happens to be there. This is why they made you wait until nightfall as part of the story, so that you could see the ghost. Again, ghosts are only supposed to be visible at night. She wants me to try and get Fleming out of the dumps, so we go and visit, which, of course, he's locked himself up, and only Katerina knows the secret knock. Almost shaven a haircut, but not quite. Of course, he is angry that we used her knock. Oh well, he'll get over it. But mainly, it's the townspeople who comes up, the big brutish guy in the helmet, that stops him and gets him to listen to us so that we can pass on Katerina's undying wish, I guess. And he comes to grips with the fact that he's so wrapped up in himself that he did not see, obviously, that his wife is sick, and he wants to see how the other people were that were suffering. There's actually a total of 4 people you need to talk to, but since I was fuzzy on details, I ended up probably dragging out another minute, almost minute and a half. I know I'm griping about nickels and dimes, but nickels and dimes add up in the long run. I should be fine though if I keep up the pace. I've not played the end game as much as I've played the beginning game though, so there will be a lot more dry runs, and here we go. This is some of the comedic relief for the rather somber setting. Obviously, she's very in love with her old merchant husband, but since she gets to stick around, she offers to share the love, quite literally, of which Katerina was none too pleased. And you actually don't have to go into this house. This was me checking to make sure, but usually you can tell if it's a required conversation because the point of view changes briefly, and you'll see that here in a moment. You've already seen it actually, but this is the one that I remembered. It was the one on the bottom floor that I forgot. Basically, Katerina will just pop in and say stuff that he can't hear. I don't know if it's presumed that you are relaying her words, but given that he's a man of science and not quite a believer like Katerina was, I'm sure that he would sound somewhat skeptical. But here we go. Here's the last person, and he finds out that if he had not staved off the illness, someone would have lost his entire family. But now that we've gone ahead and talked to everyone, the doc is ready to turn in, and we're going to be able to advance the story just a bit more. It's actually kind of a box text night, but with all that was said and done, we managed to make it to the end of this, and we will be able to go through the finale of the introduction. After this will be more plot pushing in the next episode, so we'll go ahead and say have a good time. This is KurossuElemenze with yet another Let's Play episode of my solo speedrun, and hopefully I'll be able to pick up the pace both on recording and gameplay. And as Stella's about to point out, benevolence as far as the eye can see. This is KurossuElemenze. Have a good day.